Any thoughts on Paraguay? If you like Uruguay and Argentina and some of the other southern cone, have you spent much time in Paraguay? Any insights there?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times, separated by 20 years each time.
Mm.
I've had interesting adventures in Paraguay. It's a very unusual country in lots of ways. And I like Paraguay. I I do. And oddly, it's one I think it's one of the more stable countries in Latin America because almost everybody speaks not only Spanish but Guarani, the native Indian language, whereas in places like Ecuador and Peru and Bolivia and other places, the Indians are kind of getting restless again and figuring after 500 years, hey, we want these Europeans out of here. They conquered us 500 years ago, and we don't like them anymore. Uh, Forget about all the good things we gave them. Anyway, yeah. So South America, all these countries in South America are all very different from each other.
Yeah, 100%. I've really identified Paraguay as if you want to start society from scratch, if you want to move somewhere and have pretty much be just left alone. It's a food, water, energy independent country. There's not a ton of infrastructure there, but the tax system is phenomenal. It's all territorial tax system. It's a peaceful place. The country is basically run by a half a dozen families and all in Ascension, all in the capital. So there's very little chance of any socialism coming in because they can just squash that. It's a right-leaning pro-business country. It just got investment grade rating by Moody's. So there's just massive amounts of money flowing into that place. And it's kind of been flat for 20 years. And now I think we're at the inflection point for Paraguay.
I agree with you. And it's full of Germans with a lot of good German habits. It's got just
Correct. Yeah, it's something
scores
like
of thousands
10%
of
of the
them.
population are German or from German ancestry. And
Yep.
they own a lot of the businesses. They're building a lot, they're creating. It's very interesting to see.
Yep, it is. The only thing I have against Paraguay is that most of the country, the weather is not great. It's hot, but hey, you can't have everything sometimes.
Exactly. Well, I live in Panama because of the good legal system and the lack of taxes here, but it's hot here as well. Not as hot as Paraguay. I think Paraguay gets really hot. Panama gets to
Yeah, well,
32,
you've
34
you've
degrees.
got the ocean and air conditionings
Correct.
everywhere in Panama City.
Exactly. Exactly. So, any other predictions for us? We talked a lot last year about the price of gold. You were bang on that one. We're sitting at some substantial gains in precious metals during 2024. What's your thoughts for 2025?
Yeah, I was certainly right about gold. And uh, sadly, not sadly for me, but because I've been buying gold for the last 50 years, uh, whenever I could, and I've never sold an ounce of it. It's going higher for all kinds of reasons that we don't have to get into now. I think silver is going to join the party. It's at $30 or something like that, 31 or something like that, but it could go much, much higher. So I think it's an excellent speculation at this point. Um, what else? Well, stay out of stocks, stay out of bonds. They're both in kind of bubble territory. Uh, and American real estate, same thing. It's sitting on a mound of debt, and interest rates go up. It's going to get hurt, and you don't want to own it anyway. It's now. I'm afraid the name of the tune for the years to come is to stay liquid, own gold, own silver, own Bitcoin. I'm a fan of Bitcoin too. And if you want to speculate, speculate in these crappy little mining stocks, which are very, very depressed right now. But that's been the case 5 times over the last 50 years. And they've subsequently, as a group, gone 10 to 1, with some of them going 100 to 1, which is pretty unbelievable in the course of a few years. But it's a very, very volatile market that everybody hates at this point. But it's been ticking up. So I guess that's kind of my investment posture at this point. Stay liquid and don't have a lot of debt, except if you own a house in the US, I hope you refinance it at 3% mortgage because it's like a gift, you know.
What we're doing with a lot of our private clients is they're liquidating their $1 million house, $2 million house in Canada or the United States. We're moving it to safer jurisdictions, a lot of the countries that we've discussed today, and buying smaller properties. You can have a very nice home for somewhere to live for maybe $300,000. And I mean like a nice place to live. Now take that other $1 million or whatever, $500,000 that's left over and buy 5, 10 rental properties, pay cash for them, don't have any debt, and you have multiple doors in a couple of just different jurisdictions. And if the US dollar goes to hell or whatever currency you're in goes to hell, you have options to make private contracts, get paid in Bitcoin, get paid in something else. Once you own the underlying asset with complete freehold title deed type of property with no debt, and it's a solid asset, people need somewhere to live. I think that that is a solid strategy for weathering the storm.
You're absolutely right. And in Buenos Aires, so I'm reasonably familiar with prices in Buenos Aires. If you buy an apartment in the best part of BA, which is the part that you should buy an apartment in if you're going to buy, and you should buy, it'll cost you 10%, less than 10%, what the same apartment would cost you in the equivalent area in New York. Could cost you 5%. I mean, it's not like free, but it's really, really cheap.
Mhm. Yeah, if
And
you take that math,
I wouldn't doubt that in a generation, the prices of Buenos Aires property, which are very, very cheap, and New York, they're going to flip. And people will want property in BA and they won't want it in New York. So that's a good trade to make.
well, imagine people out there who have, say, a $2 million property, they have $1 million worth of equity, $1 million worth of debt. Sell that price off, take your $1 million of equity, move it down to Latin America, buy a nice place to live, cash free and clear. And I'm not talking about some hut. Like, I mean, you can get a really
I
stunning
know,
place
a
and
nice
use the
place.
rest of it on cash flowing properties and enjoy your life. And when you look at, like, a lot of my clients are lawyers, accountants, doctors, small business owners. Basically, if you are white, male, and heterosexual in the United States and Canada right now, you're basically the devil incarnate. So they're coming for you big time. And the amount of my clients who are nervous about being sued, or their neighbor got sued, or someone else at the hospital got sued, or they're being sued is just unbelievable. And a lot of this insurance that you have to protect yourself against lawsuit is not covering the amount of the suits. I have a client who's a spine surgeon. He makes something like $800,000 a year. His insurance covers him up to about $2 million, but his colleague just got sued for over $4 million. So that's a pretty disastrous situation. So get yourself out of debt, move overseas. If you can, retire early, get some cash flowing properties and go out there and enjoy your life. Why do you want to stay in the market in the workforce for longer and increase your time of being sued? And they hate you anyways. So like
Yeah.
what service do you have to continue to provide? Or if you want to provide service, do it through, consulting or telemedicine or management fees back to a company, but do it from a safe environment on the other side of the world.
Well, you're totally right, Michael. And not only that, we're talking about a doctor. Uh, Medical tourism is very underrated. I haven't had insurance when I'm in the US for many years. Because if anything serious goes wrong, I would go to Thailand where I can have better medical care, a lot less nonsense, and maybe 15% of the cost. Same in Argentina. Same in Argentina. Same in Brazil. I mean,
Mhm.
frankly, same in Mexico. I mean, the cost of medical in the US is absolutely insane. And the quality is not there because it is so hyper regulated and the doctors are all running scared of liability that you mentioned and so forth. Yeah, exactly.
Well, our first child was born in the Middle East. Our second child was born in Brazil. We flew in while my wife was 6, 7 months pregnant, gave birth to the second child in Brazil. I think that was $3,500 for private doctor, private hospital, private room, like the suite at the hospital, everything. We were there for 3 nights. Amazing. We just had our third child earlier this year. We went to Chile, and it was like a resort. The hospital was absolutely
Yes.
insanely gorgeous in the mountains. I was going for a walk every day. The doctors spoke English, fantastic. And I think it was just under $10,000 in Chile. And with a Chilean passport for my third child, he has visa-free access to the United States, to Canada. It's a tier A passport. Like it's absolutely unbelievable. So medical tourism, there's so many things that people can do. I used to send my mother to Korea. She had to have eye surgery. She had it done over there. My dentist, I used to go to South Korea to go and see my dentist when I lived in the Middle East. It was like a 7 hour flight or something like that. And the level of care and the level of equipment and skill was just unbelievable and a fraction of the cost.
Yep, you're absolutely correct. I second that emotion and underline it.
Amazing.